Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is your first time here. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you've been here before, thank you very much for coming back. It really means a lot that people are enjoying my content and want to come back and visit. Today I want to do a quick little video talking about cutting the borders off of cards. Someone asked me about it today, and I said, you know what, let me make a video on this, because even though in TarotTube and professional readers and in the online tarot community, this is a conversation that's probably started maybe, I don't know, about 2010 probably is when people started, hey, let's cut the borders off of tarot cards. I, as a purist, was like, absolutely not. And then I said, you know, what if I get a deck for the purpose of just trying it? If I hate it, I will gift it to someone else. If I love it, great. I loved it and have not looked back. So I'm not a fan of borders. I'm going to show you. So what I realized, keeping things on track here, what I realized is that for people who are new to the tarot world, who are just beginning their tarot journey, this may not be common knowledge to them. And it's a great way for you to bond with your deck. It's one of many, but it's a very specific and wonderful way for you to bond with your own tarot deck and to personalize it, to make it more your own. This is the Radiant Wise Tarot. It's a Lo Scarabeo deck, and just pull it back out of its house that it lives in. So when I say the borders, it's literally like a frame, a border perimeter around the card. But as you will see in this Lo Scarabeo deck, there are no borders. So this is what would be called a borderless deck. Now there is the bar at the bottom for the major arcana cards. And it might be for the court cards and the aces too. But for our minor arcana, the edge, the image is stretched all the way to the edge of the deck, so there isn't any kind of border, which is fantastic because it's a clear image. It's a complete image. Now, borders kind of, again, you know, a picture needs a frame. But for me as a reader, the fluidity of when the imagery just flows next to each other, it kind of helps to create the narrative and to understand what the message is without a border. So this is an example of a borderless tarot deck. Pop these over to the side for now. So I'm going to show you what borders look like now on a tarot deck, and how we get rid of them. This is the Cosmic Tarot by Norbert Losch. I don't speak German, but Losche, I would say. So this is the Cosmic Tarot, and it is a US Games deck. And this deck was published, I don't know, it's been quite a while. I think the first copy I had was probably, I don't know, the first time I saw it was my original tarot mentor in South Florida, Glenda, and that must have been 2000 probably. So this isn't going to be a show and tell. I'm sure I will do one with this deck at some point, or a walkthrough. This is just to show you what the borders look like. So in this deck, it is written on our major arcana, the title of the card. For our court cards and for our minor arcana, it does have that. Forgive me guys if you hear stuff in the background, I'm at the shop. So it has that bar. So if you're not familiar with a deck or familiar with tarot imagery, you might want to not cut the borders off until you have been able to study the deck, remember the imagery. Now this deck is pretty true. It's not a lot of cloak and dagger and hidden understanding of what a card actually is. It's literally the 4 of Cups, 1, 2, 3, 4 cups. But it is something to keep in mind if you're not used to tarot imagery, because this is also, some of the cards are not traditional, like this Prince of Cups. If you don't know this deck, you might not know that that is in fact the Prince of Cups. But again, we see the borders. So, and in this deck, interestingly enough, even the backs have borders. If you wanted to get rid of the borders, some people use scissors. That is tedious, and it's not going to give you a smooth, even edge to the degree of what I call it a tarot guillotine. I'm sure there's a professional name for paper cutter. I think it's actually called a paper cutter. Now this is a ginormous one because it is at the shop where I work, where we have to do a lot of cutting for labels and whatnot. Michael's, Amazon, internet, find one. There are much smaller versions, and there are ones that will do the rounding corners, so you can have that. I tend to like my decks that solid straight edge, but here's how it goes. All right, let me move this over. You want to line it up, and I'm sorry guys, I'm realizing that here we go. We're trying to figure it out. Here we go. It's a shelf. You want to line it up evenly before you commit to the cut. So as you can see, I'm lining it up, and once you have a paper cutter, you'll see the lines where you know right where the edge is, so you can easily see, is the blade lining up with the perimeter of the card or the place where you want to make the cut. And you might have to adjust and move to make sure, and just remember, it's like adding salt to the soup. You can add more. You can't take salt out. In this case, it's the reverse. You can cut more, but once you've committed to the cut, you can't add more. So take care, pay attention. You might have to just gently back it up a little bit. So, okay, I've intentionally cut it with a little bit more space. So here we have a little bit more space, but that means, okay, again, too much is, well, too much, can't be replaced. So you can always go back in and cut off a little bit more to have it more precise. And one thing I've noticed in this, doing this over time, I wonder if they're always evenly cut, or the artwork is always perfectly, the squares are as perfect as they should be. So I'm just going to go back in. And it can get very, look at that tiny ribbon, small. So because again, I am familiar with this deck, I am going to remove the title of it. Line that up. Because ADD, I have to add sound effects of everything. One more. All right, so I'm just gonna fine tune this one a little bit more. And now we have our cut borderless card. So to compare and contrast on our 5 of Cups here. Sorry guys, the lighting's not the best. It never is wherever I do videos, but one day. So you can just see, isn't it just crazy how even though this is by dimension, by measurement, this is smaller than this, but it looks larger. And even how different the backs look. The back looks smaller, but it just really pulls the eye into the image itself. And I will go through and do all of these, and I will go around with marker. You can use a Sharpie, you can use Crayola markers. The metallic markers, I find I love them for that metallic effect, but I find that the metallic markers don't, it's hard to get the pen. It's hard for the card to absorb. It's hard, and because they're gel pen kind of action, you have to press down to release the ink, as opposed to a marker, just the tip immediately releases the ink and glide as you glide it across. So the metallic markers, this was a labor of love, let me tell you, on my dark wood deck with the metallic markers. Is it worth it? Yes. Do I absolutely love it? Yes. And so again, that's just an additional way to create. Now with the dark wood tarot, it comes with a quasi border, I guess we could call it. But even with this, if I could do anything with this deck, if she could re-release it, I would say please no borders, because it's just more of a shadow, which in theory seems like it would be a great idea, but it still obscures some of the imagery that can be important, can have important symbolism in these cards, that when you look at the guidebook in this deck, which is beautiful full color pages, then you can see certain things. Oh wow, that was cut off on the card or obscured with the partial border. So that is my 10 cents on cutting off the borders. And again, if you're new to your tarot journey, this may be something that you may be called to do, and you may end up finding that you really quite like it. You may end up finding that's no purpose for that. I need fine with borders. I like the borders. But it is an option, and it is something, since I had someone who asked me about it today who's new to their tarot journey, it made me feel like maybe I should make a video to let people know. So until the next video, sending you guys all the love on the YouTube machine and wherever you find this video, and I will see you in the next video.